هنبدأ الجلسة بتاعتنا عن استعمالات الأراضي. معانا أول سبيكر جاهز ولا؟ Okay, we have Salvatore Fondaro. Am I pronouncing your name good?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You are welcome, and we are sorry for the delay. I believe you can introduce yourself and start directly. You have only 10 minutes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Salvatore Fundaro. I'm urban planner and a program officer at UN Habitat. Today I will share with you the analysis we have done, the experience that we have done in Saudi Arabia in the Future Saudi Cities program. I hope you can see my screen, isn't it? It is sharing.
Not yet.
You can share your screen, please.
Yes, let me check. Trying to do it. Thank you. So I will go through the experience we have done in the recent past in UN Habitat in Saudi Arabia. It's a program of 5 years. We have started in 2013 and analyzing 17 cities in Saudi Arabia, understanding the situation of the urban context in Saudi Arabia through the analysis of the 17 cities located in different regions, and altogether covering almost 70% of the population in the country. I will go through the key aspects, the key evidence that we gather from this program and the relation with land and land policies and how those are affecting the urban growth in the country. The program has been done through evidence gathering in the cities, but also with workshops involving different of the analysis. We did one report for each city, and we fundamentally found that almost all the cities in Saudi Arabia have a challenge with unbalanced growth and development patterns. They are also affected by monofunctional and polarized development and division and lack of cohesion in the city structure. All this is also leading to a socio-ecological and economic imbalance within the city, but also with the region. Of course, there are two aspects that are not relevant for the discussion today, that are more related with the heritage laws and the dynamics of the pilgrims in the two specific cities of Mecca and Medina, but I won't enter in the discussion today. So the four elements we have found are affecting the urban context in Saudi Arabia are all related to land. And the land policies that the country is using and the urban growth. As you can see in this slide, we analyze, it's one of the slides that we have prepared for each city, and in a full document you can find in the webpage of the UN in Saudi Arabia. You can find the all 17 reports of the 17 cities in that page. You can see that the problem is that the cities in Saudi Arabia are now growing. While in 1970, the urban growth was reduced. In the last 50 years, the urban context, the urban sprawl is growing a lot. And here is, for example, the case of Medina. You can see the difference between the 1965 land allocated to urban use and how big is the city today, and also the land allocated per capita from the 100 square meter per capita in 1928 to the 222 square meter per capita in 2015. So more than doubling the land per capita, so that means reduce of the density in the context of the country. And this is something that is happening everywhere, not only in Saudi Arabia, but in Saudi Arabia in specific, is really affecting the way urban growth is produced today. So one of the policies that on land that are creating and generating this is the development protection boundaries policies. That is one of the policies that are enforced in the country, really enforced in the country. Each city has a double boundary, one for let's say 2030 and another one that is called the development protection boundary. The boundary within the boundary for 2030, the urban extension for 2030, everyone is able to build, and the community will pay the infrastructure in order to connect the new development with the rest of the city. The other boundary is the boundary that you can build, but you have to provide the basic infrastructure to connect with the rest of the city. All those boundaries are really generous. So actually everyone can do everything everywhere. This is the problem. Are really generous, including all the land and more than the land that is needed in Saudi Arabia for the actual needs. So land is becoming a sort of way of creating jobs, but also creating urban sprawl and reducing the density, and also creating a very fragmented and polarized development I was mentioning before. As you can see in Saudi Arabia, in Medina, we have 30% of the land allocated to new developments in the next 10 years. So that means that the city could grow at 30% more in the next 10 years rather than the millennium, more than 1,000 of years of growth in the past. That is creating actually a clear problem in the country. The problem is the sprawl. We have quite dense city center with offices and a residential area in the outskirts for residential use. That is creating commuting between residential areas and the city center, traffic. Of course, car-oriented development in Saudi Arabia is also translating in poor quality of public space, high energy consumption, and of course environmental issues related, for example, to the air pollution, and of course this then generating health diseases for the population and others. As UN Habitat, we provided different kinds of strategies in order to solve the problem. At the
excuse me, time is about to finish.
Level, okay, yes, I'm closing.
Okay.
At the citywide level, we proposed solutions in order to contain the urban growth between the two already built ring roads in the city. This is the case of Medina, for example, what we did for all the cities, and concentrating development along the main nodes for public transport. In other cities at the district level, we also provided, as in Brighton, there are specific solution for densification. Densification that should be contextualized, for example, in Burai, more dense than the normal, but respecting the traditions of Islamic culture. In Harar, what we did is proposing the use of public land, in that case, a current highway that is crossing through the city, and the transformation into a boulevard. So, concluding, we have the problem of development control boundary policies that are boosting urban sprawl, the lack of planning framework that is coherent, but instead is now the situation regulated by hundreds of circulars, 500 more or less. So there is no clear legal framework. There is a lack of land readjustment and land pooling in the country, and the lack of a land planning regulatory framework that is also fragmenting the government initiative from different ministries' perspective. And also there is no good vertical integration between plans at different scales, from the national to the local. And it's not clear, so the responsibility of different actors and contents of the plans. So the things that are needed is a new and more sustainable urban and territorial model. So the new model of sustainable planning from the new urban agenda and the SDGs, mostly 11. The new model need to be contextualized and adapted to the cultural context, and a new governance and regulatory framework in order to deal with land and urban growth should be developed in parallel to increase the implementability of the new model and increase the efficiency of the urban context. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I would raise the floor for any questions. Any comments? Or yes, please.
Thank you very much for the interesting.
Cannot hear.
Thank you very much for the interesting presentation and interesting program in Saudi Arabia. I think the problems are there, and I think it's in Egypt too. And we have also the same solutions like the ring roads and densification and how to control the urban sprawl. But by the end of the day, you're saying that we have the protection limit, right? The 30% of the land should be kept for next generations, or the 30 years span, or right?
It's not like that. I think it's the development boundary policy is too generous. The land, let's say, allocated by the Ministry of Municipalities for future development is too much. So it's actually everyone can do everywhere whatever they want, because the land that is, let's say, allowed for the extension of the cities is too big. Is an amount that is by far more than the one that the city need. And actually, what we are seeing is that many of those cities have already, within the city boundary, empty land, brown fields that can be used for the same specific scope. So actually, the future population could be, let's say, included in the already existing urban boundary. But instead, we have more and more land given to the real estate market and for the developers to grow. This is the problem. I don't know if it's clear now.
Thank you very much. Is there any other comment or question? So do we have any online questions? No? So we can move to the next presentation. Engineer Amira Atif. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Shukran.
Yeah, it was a great very good presentation. Thank you very much. Yeah, we'll move now to the second one. Yes, Amira. Amira is an architectural engineer. She's graduated from Cairo University. She has done her master's degree in urban design and community development, 2009, Cairo University. And she is a PhD candidate in urban design community development, Cairo University also. She is working at AF Consultants since 2011 and a technical office manager till now. She will give us her presentation now. Yes, the floor is yours.
صباح الخير. أنا كنت حابة أشكر الدكتورة دعاء إن هي شجعتني إن أنا أشارك معاكم في المؤتمر ده، وإن شاء الله يبقى الموضوع فيه إفادة للجميع بإذن الله. النهاردة إحنا هنتكلم عن تنمية الأراضي الصحراوية في المدن الجديدة بتفعيل مبدأ الإقطاع في الشريعة. طبعا كمقدمة للبحث إحنا هنتكلم شوية عن التنمية العمرانية والتنمية المستدامة. تعتبر التنمية العمرانية البعد الثالث لعملية التنمية المستدامة التي يجب الاعتماد عليها في تحقيق التوافق مع الأهداف القومية والاقتصادية والاجتماعية من خلال سياسة استخدام الأرض دون إهدار للإمكانيات المتاحة والكامنة أو استنزافها أو استنفاذها. والحكومة المصرية تبنت بناء على ده برنامج لإنشاء عدد من المدن الجديدة من السبعينات علشان إن هي تغطي الاحتياجات لتحقيق احتياجات ومتطلبات المدينة. اتأثرت المدن الجديدة دي في الفترة الأخيرة بالتغيرات الاقتصادية المستجدة على المجتمع المصري، لكن إدارة العمران بتتطلب إدراك كامل لنظريات النمو العمراني وكذلك متطلبات السكان واحتياجاتهم. لكن في نفس الوقت لو بصينا للتنمية العمرانية في البيئة التقليدية الإسلامية نجد أنها تأثرت من مبادئ وقواعد الأحكام الفقهية الإسلامية ومن مبادئ الشريعة اللي احنا هندرسها في الموضوع ده مبدأ الإحياء والإقطاع، واللي ساعد على ازدهار وتنمية العمران في البيئة التقليدية تنمية متكاملة. الهدف الرئيسي للبحث إدارة عمران الأراضي الصحراوية بالمدن الجديدة من منظور مبدأ الإقطاع في الشريعة الإسلامية مع دعم دور الفرد في العملية التنموية وتنمية الشعور بالمسؤولية لدى الأفراد. هيكون منهجية الدراسة بتاعتنا أول حاجة هندرس مبدأ الإحياء والإقطاع من ناحية التعريف وتحليل المبادئ الأساسية واستخلاص تشريعات التنمية في البيئة التقليدية والمؤسسات اللي قامت بإدارة ومراقبة التنمية في البيئة التقليدية. تاني حاجة تحليل مبادئ التنمية المستدامة في البيئة المعاصرة، وفي المقابل تحليل ودراسة مفاهيم التنمية في الفكر الإسلامي علشان نعمل بينهم مقارنة لإثبات استدامة التنمية في الفكر الإسلامي. طيب ماشي حاضر. بعد إثبات استدامة الفكر الإسلامي التنمية في الفكر الإسلامي هنعمل دراسة لاستدامة المدن الجديدة في البيئة التقليدية ودراسة لاستدامة المدن الجديدة في البيئة المعاصرة ونعمل بينهم مقارنة من خلال عناصر الأجندة الحضارية الجديدة. أول حاجة هنتكلم إيه هو مبدأ الإحياء والإقطاع، وعلشان نتكلم على مبدأ الإحياء والإقطاع لازم نعرف ملكية الأرض في الشريعة كان إيه أساسها. قواعد الملكية في الشريعة هي حاجتين اللي هي الحاجة والسيطرة. طبعا علشان يبقى فيه ملكية للأرض لازم يبقى فيه احتياج لتنميتها، وتاني حاجة لازم يبقى فيه إمكانية للسيطرة على الأرض دي. فبالتالي ظهرت القاعدتين دولت في مبدأ الإحياء. مفهوم بقى مبدأ الإحياء. الإحياء هو معنى نسبي لإحياء الأرض الميتة اللي هو إحياء الموات، وده جاي من خلال حديث نبوي ليه كذا حديث اللي هو من أحيا مواتا فهي له، والمقصود بيها إن الأرض الميتة اللي يحييها او يعمرها او يبنيها، هي بتاعته طالما ان هو مستمر في التنميه دي. وهو ده مبدأ الإحياء، هو ده المفهوم بتاع مبدأ الإحياء. الهدف منه ان احنا نعمر الأراضي الصحراوية، وان احنا نعمل اللي ربنا أمرنا بيه، بان هو تنمية الأرض وتعميرها. شروط الملكية في الإحياء ان احنا نعمل حاجة اسمها تحديد او احتجار، ان انت تحدد الأرض اللي انت هتعملها او هتعمرها من خلال سور خشب او احجار او سور حجر، حسب اللي انت هتحتاج تحدد بيه. حاضر. آليات الإحياء إن إحنا نجهز الأرض دي لتعميرها، من خلال إن إحنا إذا هنزرعها، إذا هنبنيها، إذا إن إحنا نوفر فيها مية للزراعة أو نشيل منها مية لو هي متغطية بالمية. دي آليات الإحياء. شروط الإحياء الاستمرارية، يعني علشان إن أنا أقدر أحيي الأرض دي. السلايد اللي قبلها. أيوة هناك. نمرة 1 اللي قبلها كمان بس دي تمام. شروط إحياء الأرض الموات هو الاستمرارية. دي أول حاجة، لازم إن احنا نحافظ على استمرارية الإحياء والتنمية، لأن مجرد إن أنت سبت الأرض ديت من غير إحياء ورجعت تاني موات، أنت كده سبتها إن أي حد تاني يجي ياخدها. فبالتالي شرط أساسي الاستمرارية. شرط تاني بس دوت اختلفت فيه المذاهب الفقهية، اللي هو إذن الحاكم أو إذن الدولة. حاضر. بس دوت المذهب الحنفي بس اللي قال عليه. الثلاث مذاهب التانية قالت إنه مش شرط، لأن في الحالة دي إحنا بنخش على الإقطاع والإحياء حاجة واحدة، بس الفرق بينهم هو إذن الحاكم. الإقطاع دي الدولة بتقطع الأرض للناس عشان تعمرها، وطبعا ده من غير مقابل، لأن الهدف منه هو تنمية الأرض والتعمير. ومبدأ الإقطاع دوت استخدموه أكتر حاجة في المدن الجديدة، يعني زي مثلا بغداد، القاهرة. دولت لما جاء الحاكم عمل المدينة، أول حاجة عملها إن هو كدولة عمل المركز الأساسي بتاعه اللي هو القصر والدواوين الحكم والمسجد، وبعد كده قسم الأراضي اللي حوالين المركز بتاعه دوت اللي جوه سور المدينة، وأقطعها للناس اللي هتعمرها، سواء بقى الجند، الوزراء، الناس اللي ليها مراكز عالية في الدولة. هو ده اللي استخدم فيه مبدأ الإقطاع. التنمية بتاعة الإحياء والإعمار كانت ماشية على مبادئ التنمية في الشريعة، ودي ارتبطت بحريم الأرض والارتفاق والقواعد الفقهية والقواعد اللي كانوا حاطينها لتقسيم الطرق. كان في طبعا برضو مؤسسات بتراقب التنمية ديت، وكان أهم 3 جهات: هو القاضي لحل المنازعات، وأهل الخبرة للجوء ليهم لحل المشاكل دي، وطبعا المحتسب. وده كان أهم دور ليه، إن هو يراقب إن التنمية دي ماشية تبعا لقواعد التنمية العمرانية في الشريعة. طبعا من خلال دوت هنلاقي إن البيئة التقليدية بتاعتنا ما كانتش بيئة فوضوية ولا نموها عشوائي، بل بالعكس كانت مدن مستقرة ومتوازنة ومستمرة معانا لحد دلوقتي، وطلعت لنا معمار متجانس ومتوافق مع أعراف المجتمع. بجانب دوت كان طبعا في مشاركة مجتمعية عالية، من خلال بيحكمها طبعا من خلال مبدأ انتفاء الضرر، وهو لا ضرر ولا ضرار في حديث الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام. علشان ان انا اقدر استفيد من المبدأ ده، انا محتاجة اثبت ان التنمية من خلال الفكر الاسلامي كانت تنمية مستدامة. فبالتالي عملنا مقارنة، هي ما بتتغيرش. السلايد اللي بعدها معلش. طيب، عملنا المقارنة ما بين التنمية المستدامة في الفكر المعاصر والتنمية في الفكر الإسلامي، ولقينا طبعا مفهوم التنمية المستدامة إن إحنا نحافظ على الموارد المتوفرة في البيئة بتاعتنا للأجيال اللي بعد كده، وطبعا تحسين جودة الحياة البشرية من الناحية الاجتماعية والاقتصادية والبيئية. في التنمية بقى من المنظور الإسلامي هي هدفها الأساسي تنمية شاملة للإنسان، وده من خلال ان هي تساعده ان هو يقوم بالوظائف بتاعته في تنمية الارض، بس دوت مش بمعزل عن الضوابط الدينية والاخلاقية والحفاظ على الموارد دون اهدار او اسراف. وده طبعا ليه خلفيات كتير في القرآن والسنة. الاهداف بتاعت التنمية المستدامة: القضاء على الجوع والفقر والصحة الجيدة والتعليم الجيد. 17 هدف احنا عاملينهم في التنمية المستدامة. التنمية في الفكر الإسلامي كان هدفها الأساسي هو إعمار الأرض، وده من خلال المقاصد في الشريعة، وهم 5 حاجات: حفظ الدين وحفظ النفس وحفظ المال وحفظ العقل وحفظ النسل. ودولت ال5 مقاصد بيوفوا ال17 شرط في التنمية المستدامة. أبعاد التنمية المستدامة عندنا 3 أبعاد أساسية: البعد الاقتصادي والاجتماعي والبيئي، بجانب أبعاد ثانوية اللي هو البعد الإداري والثقافي والبعد التكنولوجي والإداري. التنمية في المنظور حاضر. التنمية في المنظور الإسلامي هي تنمية شاملة ومتكاملة، منظومة متكاملة. هي البعد الديني، الأخلاقي، البعد السياسي، البعد الإداري، الاقتصادي، الاجتماعي، البيئي، ودول بتتعامل معاهم ان هم متكاملين مع بعض. خصائص التنمية المستدامة: الاستمرارية الإنسانية، العدالة الاجتماعية، المسؤولية. خصائص التنمية في الفكر الإسلامي: الاستمرارية والشمولية والتوازن، العدالة الاجتماعية والاستقلالية والإنسانية، ودي أهم هدف عندها. مؤشرات قياس التنمية في البيئة في التنمية المستدامة: طبعا جودة الحياة هي اللي بتأثر على الإنسان، واللي احنا عايزين نوفرها له من خلال، ودي بنوفرها من خلال مؤشرات قياس التنمية: اجتماعية وبيئية واقتصادية. في التنمية في الفكر الإسلامي مؤشرات القياس ظهرت من حديث للرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام: من أصبح آمنا في سربه معافى في جسده عنده قوت يومه فكأنما حيزت له الدنيا بحذافيرها. طبعا دي وفرت لنا 3 مؤشرات أساسية: نعمة الأمن والأمن الغذائي والأمن الصحي. من خلال ان احنا اثبتنا ان التنميه في الفكر الاسلامي تنميه مستدامه ما تختلفش عنها في المبادئ او المفاهيم، نقدر ان احنا ندرس المدن ومدى استدامتها في البيئه التقليديه، لان كان مفهوم الاسلامي للمدن المستدامه يربط المدينه بالبيئه، بالانسان، بالمنظومه الايمانيه للفرد وبخالقه. وكانت مفهوم الاستدامه ما كانش موجود بالمعنى المفهوم بتاعنا دلوقتي، لكن هو كانوا بيطبقوه في المعيشه بتاعتهم وفي نمط حياتهم، لان البيئه هي المصدر الاساسي بتاعهم وتفاعلهم مع البيئه والحفاظ على الموارد هناك. كتطبيق لاستدامه المدن الجديده في البيئه التقليديه، انا درست مدينه القاهره الفاطميه وبدايه تاسيسها. طبعا احنا عارفين بدايتها من جوهر
كونكلوجن بقى عشان الوقت.
طيب حاضر. هو نتيجة دراسة المدينة الجديدة إن هي بتطبيق عناصر الأجندة الحضرية عليها، إن كانت نسبة الاستدامة فيها نسبة 97%، نتيجة إن هم طريقة التنمية وطريقة الإدارة والمراقبة في المدينة كلها طبعا وضحت قد إيه إن هي مدينة مستدامة. كانت تنمية الأراضي بتبقى أساسي المركز ومد المواصلات لمدينة الفسطاط كمدينة تجارية ليها. كانت التنمية جوه المدينة حوالين المركز جوه أسوار المدينة بمبدأ الإقطاع، اللي هو ندي الأراضي بلاش للناس عشان تعمرها، وحوالين المدينة من بره كانت متسابة للتنمية بالإحياء. وده طبعا من خلال القوانين اللي بتحكم البيئة التقليدية بالمؤسسات الحاكمة ليها. بدراسة المدن الجديدة في البيئة المعاصرة، احنا عارفين طبعا الإيجابيات وسلبيات المدن الجديدة. ماشي حاضر اوكي. هندرس مصر الجديدة. طيب لما بنعمل مقارنة ما بين تنمية المدن الجديدة في البيئة التقليدية والمدن الجديدة في البيئة المعاصرة، هنلاقي تنمية المدن الجديدة في البيئة التقليدية تميزت بتدرج التنمية، بتعمل مركز المدينة وبعد كده بتبتدي التنمية بالتدريج حواليها. وطبعا المشاركة المجتمعية دي أساسية، مش حاجة يعني قابلة للتفاوض للتنمية دي. لكن المدن الجديدة في البيئة المعاصرة بتبقى حسب الجهة اللي بتنميها. لو الجهة اللي بتنمي قطاع خاص فهي بتعمل تنمية نوعا ما متدرجة، وبتسمح بمشاركة مجتمعية في حدود معينة مع وجود قوي للجهات الرقابية للتنمية دي عشان تضمن ان التنمية دي طالعة بالشكل اللي هي عايزاه. لكن لو كانت من خلال القطاع الحكومي فالتنمية بتكون بشكل كامل وشامل للمدينة، وده طبعا فيه إجهاد مادي جامد للدولة، بجانب طبعا ان مفيش حاجة اسمها مشاركة مجتمعية في عملية التنمية، والرقابة والتقييم الصحيح للعملية ده للأسف ما بيبقاش موجود بشكل قوي. النتائج ولا؟
لا كده كويس قوي، متشكرين قوي بجد. الوقت هي كده وصلت الفكرة يعني. ألف شكر. بشكر مهندسة أميرة جدا، واتفضل.
شكرا جزيلا مهندسة أميرة، وإن شاء الله دكتوراه موفقة مهمة جدا. أنا ربيع وهبة من التحالف الدولي للأرض International Land Coalition، وحابب يعني أطرح سؤال عملي. أنا عارف طبعا المؤتمرات ما تبقاش الوقت كافي لتغطية كل الأمور، بس إحنا عندنا إطار إسلامي إيجابي جدا وميسر للقضاء على معوقات مختلفة من تمكين المرأة وتمكين الناس من الأراضي الجديدة. يعني الجانب السلبي أو المعوقات اللي هي ممكن تواجه هذه المنظومة على أرض الواقع، قد إيه ممكن نقدر إحنا نتناول الأمور العملية مع الحكومات المسؤولة على مستوى المنطقة. يعني إحنا النهاردة شفنا في الأردن وشفنا في الكويت محاولات مختلفة، وفي مصر طبعا امبارح لقينا في تجارب ناجحة ومبشرة في موضوع تمكين المرأة من الأرض والقضاء على المعوقات المختلفة سواء الشرعية أو غير الشرعية. فيا ريت احنا يعني في التجربة العملية ممكن يعني ازاي نوفق بين سبل التمكين من خلال مثلا منظمات مجتمع مدني وحركات اجتماعية والحكومات في إطار السياسات المختلفة، خاصة خطط التنمية المستدامة زي 2030 في مصر.
شكرا.
هقول لحضرتك على حاجه، احنا ما عندناش مشكله في موضوع التمكين في الارض دوت، لان احنا مين للارض، احنا الدوله بتمشي تبع للريجوليشنز والقوانين اللي هي شغاله بيها. المقترح اللي انا بقترحه ان الدوله ما تبيعش الارض، تبعد تماما عن بيع الارض، وان هي تتعامل معاها ان هي مصدر مادي ونفعي للدوله. الارض ليها اساسا هي تعتبر مورد اجتماعي لحل مشاكل، مش مجال ان انا كدوله اكسب من وراها. بالعكس الدوله هتستفيد اكتر لو ان هي وفرت الاراضي دي بدون عائد مادي. هتحل مشاكل لناس كتير، وهي هتحل مشاكلها هي شخصيا في التعامل مع العشوائيات، لان العشوائيات هي اساسها ايه؟ ارض ببلاش اخذتها وبناها. بينما لو الدوله هي وفرت الارض دي فعليا زي ما هي اوريدي في العشوائيات، الارض اتاخدت ببلاش وفي الاخر الدوله وفرت البنيه التحتيه ليها ونمتها وارتقت بالمناطق دي. طب انا ابتدي من الاول صح، وهو ده مبدا الاقطاع وهو ده مبدا الاحياء، ان انا بوفر الارض ببلاش للناس، وانا اللي اراقب وانا اللي اوجه، وبالتالي هعمل تنميه صح واوفر على نفسي مشاكل التنميه العشوائيه، وان انا امكن الارض دي للناس ولا لا، لان هي اراضي دوله والكلام ده
طيب.
كله.
انا بشكرك. طبعا الموضوع ده لو اتكلمنا فيه مش هنكفي، فانا اقترح برضو ممكن مناقشه مطوله اكتر بين حضراتكم في البريك.
ميرسي.
ومتشكر. لا استني لسه في اسئله تاني. لا في سؤال بس اونلاين عشان سالتي قبل كده، معلش. هل ممكن يدخل معانا دكتور احمد؟ لا دكتور احمد اونلاين. دكتور احمد سليمان معانا؟ طيب هل في سؤال من السادة الحضور هنا لحد ما نشوف الأونلاين؟ طيب اتفضلي قولي سؤالك على بال ما لا مايك عشان الترجمة سريع بس.
طيب امبارح كنا بنتكلم ان القطاع الخاص مثلا في مدينتي ادوا له الارض ببلاش، فانا عايزه اعرف انه دلوقتي اسلاميا في الشريعه الاسلاميه بتقول ان انا ادي الارض ببلاش، لكن ده انا فاهماه على اسس الاشخاص عشان ينموا بيوتهم،
لا
لكن مش
لا.
ولا الاستثمار.
لا انا قلت لحضرتك ان احنا فعليا مبدا الاحياء ده كان متساب للافراد عشان ينموا الاراضي الصحراويه زي ما هم عايزين، وكان في نفس الوقت بيحكمهم الشريعه. هم كان دي عشان كده اسمها البيئه التقليديه، لان هي ماشيه على الاعراف اللي معتمده على الشريعه في كل حياتهم. الاقطاع اساسي استخدموه في تنميه المدن الجديده. الحكام زي مثلا مدينه بغداد، مدينه القاهره، اي مدينه جديده كان الحاكم بيلجا لمبدا الاقطاع علشان عايز ينمي المدينه الجديده بتاعته. فبالتالي كانت الدوله بتوفر المركز وبتوفر الطرق للمدن، مثلا اللي هي مثلا زي مثلا القاهره دي كانت بتعتبر المدينه السياسيه، لكن مدينه الفسطاط اللي هي اوريدي كانت موجوده وقايمه بقى لها كتير تعتبر اللي هي المركز التجاري والعلمي والثقافي بالنسبه لها. فبالتالي هي ما قطعتهاش، هي عمل الحاكم جه عمل مركز المدينه ومد طريق رئيسي من القاهره للفسطاط عشان ما يقطعش اللينك ده، وفي نفس الوقت هو عايز ينمي المدينه بتاعته ويوفر احتياجاتها. بعد ما عمل المركز لجأ لاقطاع الاراضي، ان هو عمل زي احياء او مجاورات ووزعها على العائلات او الجنود او الوزراء علشان يبتدي ينمي الاراضي دي، هو ما باعهاش. ده نفس الفكره اللي حصلت في مصر الجديده، في مدينتي، في دريم لاند. الدوله ادت الارض بمبلغ زهيد جدا في مقابل ان هي تنتفع من ورا المدينه دي وتنميتها في حاجات معينه، زي ما انت قلتي امبارح في مدينتي ان هيئه المجتمعات اخذت 7% من الاسكان اللي هناك علشان ان هي في مقابل التنميه بتاعتها. فبالتالي اللي الدوله عملته مع مع مدينتي وكده.
الموضوع مشوق جدا الحقيقه، واحنا كده مش هنخلص الجلسه في حضرتك في سؤال ولا تعليق؟ لا معلش. طب الوقت بس يعني ممكن سريع جدا جدا عشان الوقت.
حاول اختصر.
واضح الموضوع مشوق قوي، فالاسئله كتير.
انا بعتذر الاول ان انا جيت متاخر، يعني ما لحقتش البرزنتيشن من اولها، بس كان عندي فكره عنها من امبارح. انا محمد هارون، مدرس مساعد في كليه هندسه قسم عماره، وبرضه مهتم بموضوع الاراضي واداره الاراضي. في بس نقطه ليها علاقه بالشريعه الاسلاميه، وفكره ان هي الشريعه بتقول ان احنا ما نبيعش او نبيع. القصه بتهيألي يعني من ايام سيدنا عمر بن الخطاب لما بدا يبقى في فتوحات اسلاميه كبيره، كان هو اول من فقه يعني او افتى في حته الايه تمليك. قال لك لا، ما ينفعش نملك الناس الاراضي، عشان احنا كده هنبقى بنحرم الاجيال القادمه او بنحرم الناس اللي لسه هتدخل في الاسلام من حقها في الايه، في الاراضي دي.
معلش اسفه ان انا هقطعك. لا، اللي ابتدى الموضوع الرسول عليه الصلاه والسلام، وده ليه 29 حديث.
انا اسفه والله الوقت بس معلش، ممكن يعني ده تبقى مناقشه اي حد مهتم ممكن نتجمع في بريك بس والله، لان البيبر دي بالذات خدت وقت اكتر من وقتها بكتير. انا بشكركم. هو الموضوع نعم انا عارفه والله، بس لسه عندنا احنا اوريدي مبتدئين ربع ساعه متاخر. مفيش اي مشكله، ممكن في البريك كل اللي مهتمين مع المهندسه اميره يتناقشوا في كل النقط. وبشكركم جدا، بشكرك يا باشمهندسه، وبشكر كل المناقشات. وهو الموضوع اصله طويل شويه، فانا نشوف النكست سبيكر. باشمهندس محمود لو سمحت، محمود عبد القادر. باشمهندس محمود مهندس معماري متخرج من جامعة أسيوط. طيب I will read the bio in English because it's written in English in front of me. He has worked in different fields such as urban planning and GIS analysis. Besides teaching at Asyut University, his expertise utilize GIS and remote sensing in urban planning and management. Currently, he is working on his PhD at ITC Holland. أهلا وسهلا بك. اتفضل، ولو سمحت 10 دقايق بس العرض، وان شاء الله الاي تي تعملوا لنا سبورت في البرزنتيشن لو سمحتوا، مش عايزين المشكله اللي حصلت. بعد كده نشوف الاسئله. اتفضل حضرتك.
Okay, and thank you for having me. First, I would like to thank the conference organizers for giving me the opportunity to present part of my PhD studies in ITC, University of Twente in the Netherlands. Today I will talk with you about the impacts of land use development policy on unplanned human settlements growth in Asyut Governorate, Egypt. All right, so next slide, please. So as we can see here in the graph, the global population has been growing with unprecedented rate since the 1950s, and it is also expected to continue in its growth in the upcoming years. And as we all know, with any with any population growth, it is accompanied by a demand for land for agricultural uses and also for urban expansion uses. So in Egypt, since the 1950s, we used to experience unplanned human settlements growth on agricultural land, and this make the government take some. Yes, next slide, please. And next slide also. So the government to manage unplanned growth on on agricultural land, it used 3 strategies. The first strategy is to plan human settlements growth inside the Nile Valley using a strategic planning approach. It also launched a set of new cities in the hinterlands of the Nile Valley and the Nile Delta. For example, here we can see the map of New Cairo in the middle. And also the government issued a set of laws which criminalize any unplanned growth on agricultural land. However, a study by the Ministry of Agriculture showed that Egypt was losing annually 30,000 faddans between 1984 and 2007, and also the Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli announced in 2020 that Egypt lost around 90,000 faddans between 2011 and 2020. So this was the motive for us to study the previous policies which the government had adopted to decrease and manage unplanned growth on agricultural land. And in our study, we tried to answer the 5 W's questions: why, where, when, who, what, and where. So to answer where and when and what types of growth, we have conducted a spatio-temporal analysis. Next, please. Next, please. Yes. Yes. So we, to answer the question of what types of growth have occurred between 1999 and 2020, we try to identify the growth patterns. In the literature, we found 5 types of growth: infill growth, edge expansion, linear branch, cluster, and scattered. And also to get a deeper understanding, we have divided edge expansion to 2 types, expansion and edge ribbon. And also we divided the cluster and scattered types to proximate cluster and proximate scatter, which is nearby the road networks, and isolated cluster or isolated scatter, which is far away from the road networks. Next, please. So here this is the methodology. I wish I could present it in a better way, but we have some technical problems. So what you can see here, this is a QGIS tool that we have developed to analyze the human settlements growth types. It is available in QGIS software. It is an open source software. And also for extracting the built-up area, I have to mention that we have used symbolic machine learning. We used Landsat satellite images, Landsat 7 and Landsat 8. We used the global human settlements layer, which was developed by the GRC. We used African land cover map, which is developed by ESA, the European Space Agency. And based on all that, we managed to extract the built-up area and analyze human settlements growth types. Next, please. To answer the question of who contributes to unplanned growth on agricultural land in Egypt and why unplanned growth occurred in the study area, we held 54 in-depth interviews with stakeholders. We met a number of public servants at GOPP, at local administrative units, and also at the agricultural cooperative. And we also held interviews with farmers, informal settlers, and land brokers and urban planning consultants. And based on these interviews, we concluded a number of driving forces for unplanned growth and also who contributes to this process. Next, please. The study area, we have chosen Asyut Governorate, which is located in the middle of the Nile Valley for two reasons. Asyut Governorate had experienced the highest rate of unplanned growth after between 2011 and 2014. And also it is far away from the economic impact of Cairo as a capital. So we focused on Asyut in our analysis. Next, please. Yeah, for the results, as you can see, this is the map for the results of the spatiotemporal analysis. Next, please. Next. We have 4 maps for 4 periods: 1999, 2005, 2005, 2010, 2010, 2015, and 2015, 2020. We found that applying the strategic planning starting from 2005 decreased unplanned human settlements expansion on agricultural land. We also found that after the Egyptian revolution, unplanned growth increased, but by 2015, the government managed to control unplanned growth, and we had the lowest rate of unplanned growth was between 2015 and 2020. But in all periods, unplanned growth was present. Yes, this is the results of the human settlements growth types in Asyut Governorate. This is the results of the growth classifier, the QGIS tool that we have developed. So we have 8 types, as you can see. Always expansion type was had the highest rate of or highest area, but outlying growth types also were presented in the 4 periods. Next slide, I'm not sure. Yes, for okay, we found out that there are 38 driving forces, some of them cultural, demographic, socioeconomic, political and institutional, and also spatial. Next, please. For the results, we found that the strategic planning approach was useful. We also found that investing in new settlements in the hinterlands of the Nile Valley also was useful. Next, please. But we found that there was a lack of rural development inside the Nile Valley, and we also found that the hinterlands, the new settlements in the hinterlands lack proper incentives and economic structures. We also found that the objectives of the new settlements were always overestimated. For example, New Asyut City, it was planned to reach 130,000 inhabitants by 2017, but according to the 2018 census, it had only 35,000 inhabitants. We also found some struggling with the strategic planning approach. There is a lack of participatory practices, some problems with the funds in the phase of implementation, and also the bureaucratic procedures for approving the plan may take years, which change the status on the ground. Thank you for listening to me, and happy to answer any question.
Thank you very much. You exceeded the time, but it was really very interesting presentation. Thank you. Is there any questions or comments? Yes, please.
Thank you for your presentation. I have a short question. That do you think that the strategic approach used in Asyut will prevent any more losses in the agricultural land?
No, it is not only about the strategic planning approach. It is also about the implementation of this plan. I think this is part of the problem. The cultural forces also hinder the implementing the plan. So it is not only about the plan, it's how are we going to implement it, and also how we prepare it with the participatory of the people who are supposed to following the plan.
Mike, لو سمحت.
Thank you for the presentation. I'd like to shed a light on in your plan or strategy, or even the ideas of strategy. The problem of corruption may be affecting any plan in any countries. So it's important to take care of the plans concerning the corruption, and how does it affect any strategy.
Of course, this work is published in 2 papers, and one of them in land use policy. Right now it's under review, and it is focused on the techniques of corruption that was used. Many Egyptians may know that the kahul, this is a technique that is used to escape from the legal punishment. So all of this was presented in our paper, but there's no time to go through it right now. So maybe you can read the paper. Yes, but it is under review right now. Yeah.
Of course, corruption is anywhere, but he also mentioned the bureaucracy. Yeah, so it's another phase of the. Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions? Yes, please.
Hi, thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. I was leaning towards the same question as the colleague here, actually, but in the absence of time, I'll focus the question on something else. But I just want to also say that I would love to see more, because we went so fast through the driving factors and recommendations, I wasn't really able to pick it up. So my question is on something else. It's about the data collection process in terms of challenges, because both in terms of the remote sensing data and also in terms of this fascinating breadth of conversations you seem to have with a range of stakeholders. What could you elaborate on any of the challenges you encountered on both of those sides of the data collection?
Yes, of course. For the spatial temporal analysis for the remote sensing, our objective was to use open data, open source data, open source applications, also to provide other researchers about a useful methodology that can be used in developing countries who might not have funds to buy satellite images. So we used Landsat. We used the application which is called Masada. It is developed by the Masada 1.3. It is developed by the European Union, JRC, and it is also for free. We used OpenStreetMaps for the road network. We used African land cover map developed by ESA. All of this data are free data and free application. QGIS, even the growth classifier, the tool that we have developed, it is available on QGIS, which is an open source software. For holding interviews with the stakeholders, it was the hardest part, to be honest, because some of them were afraid to talk with us, but especially from the formal side, the formal institutions. So we tried to convince them that there is no harm. But people, the farmers, the informal settlers were informal settlers had more. They wanted to talk about the problem they are facing. So really the main problem was with the governmental officers.
Thank you very much for the question and for the answer. I'm very sorry for rushing, but we have really very tight program, and the conference is very compact. So we need to make the best benefit of time. Thank you very much. It was very good. We move now to the next speaker. We have Pakinam. She's online or here? Online. Yes. Pakinam. Pakinam Barakat. She is an architect. And she received her PhD in architecture in 2017 from the Faculty of Engineering, Alexandria University. Currently, she is working as an assistant professor at Pharos University in Alexandria City in Egypt. Yes, you're welcome, Pakinam.
Thank you.
Yes, please, you have only 10 minutes.
Okay, I'll try to make it quick.
Yes, thank you. Can you share your screen with us?
Yes, is it appearing now?
Yes, please. Thank you very much. Yeah, it is clear. You can start now, yes.
Okay, good morning. My name is Pakinam Nabil Barakat, and my paper is entitled Remodeling Informality into Sustainable Housing Prototype in Alexandria Case, Egypt. Introduction, urban informality and encroachment of agricultural lands are two faces for one coin, which is this widespread of slums. And also the imbalance in urban development is leading to the arbitrary urban expansion. The two challenges are tackling hundreds of threats on social health, economy, safety, social security, and national stability. And these negative effects appear mostly in developing nations, Arab countries such as Egypt. Also, government should facilitate formal land registration for poor people and enabling them to utilize the advantages of the land. So the main problem facing the paper was that government can't control this informal growth, and they also can't communicate successfully with its inhabitants to help them provide the proper houses to satisfy all their basic needs. Moreover, even the low-income projects are not well studied concerning land location, selecting and achieving the inhabitants' goals. The main problem will be solved in the research through three main phases explained in the methodology. Phase 1, literature review, data collection, and analysis. The paper starts with defining the slums, informality, agricultural encroachment, then analyze the informal settlements distribution in Alexandria City, which is the case study. Then review the reasons of the widespread of slums. Moreover, explore the bad effect of these slums on the governments and on the community. And finally, discuss the land plot affordability. After finishing phase 1, this will lead us to a complete review on informality and problems in Alexandria City will be generated. So the second phase is the research proposal for controlling this informality, where designs and structures are concluded to assist the governments in upgrading slums. This will take place through a comparison that will be held between three structure systems, then explain the most convenient structure from them to upgrade slums and create new communities for the poor. And then designing a structural prototype and adding some sustainable implementations on them to upgrade the designed structure and convert it into a green one. The last and the third phase is a conclusion where there's a review on the effects of this new proposal and paper recommendations. So after reviewing the methodology, let's refresh our minds with slums definition as it is described as unsafe and unhealthy homes, overcrowded homes, limited or no access of basic services like water, sanitation, electricity, and transportation. So the widespread of slums in Alexandria City. In this part, we're going to talk about the case study undertaken in the paper, but let's generally talk about Egypt, where the total land area is 1 million square kilometer and only 7.6% is inhabited, and population approximately is 1,000,002 with a growth rate 1.94%. So Alexandria is one of the most important Egyptian cities on the Mediterranean Sea, as it is considered the second city after Cairo with the highest population, reaching 3.8 million, and it's also considered the second capital after Cairo city. And let's know that the slums are covering 3.25% of the total city area and characterized by high population and poor infrastructure. And this map on the right shows the unplanned settlement areas found in Alexandria City and covered in the red color. Slums in Alexandria City are divided into three main types. Type 1 is the encroachment on the agricultural lands like Kazbet Ibrahim Musa in El Muntaza district in Alexandria. Second type is settlement on public and voluntary dedicated lands like slums above archaeological site like Tabyet Saleh. And type 3 is the unplanned development on Bedouin lands, where the ownership is unclear between the government and Bedouin people. And after reviewing the three main informal settlements, let's talk about the unsafe areas that are estimated to constitute 1% of the urban areas with an average density of 200 persons per Fadan, and building height is from 1 to 2 floors, and the problem is that they are mostly demolished and dangerous on the inhabitants and threatens the surrounding environment and do require deliberate interventions. So the reasons of informality, there are three main aspects. The first one is government aspect, that is due to laws, demands and supply in the housing factor, security, stability, and urban expansion. The second aspect is economic aspect, which is due to the spread of unemployment and people adopting the idea of building for themselves for less cost and capital accumulation. The third aspect is a social one, where some ideas are adopted by people refusing the rental idea and adopting migration. So all the previous reasons has led in return to millions of negative effects on community and on people and on governments. So they will also be classified into 6 aspects. First one is health and well-being, which is absence of clean water, proper ventilation, proper sanitation, and people dying every day from building collapsing on them due to the weak structures. Number two is safety and violence, where there's increase in the crimes, widespread of violence, and lack of awareness, absence of land ownership, which leads to insecurity of the people living inside these houses. Aspect number three is economically, decrease in agricultural production and food crisis due to building on agriculture lands. Aspect number four is disasters and evictions, where the spread of evictions or building collapsing due to weak structures. Aspect number five is aesthetic values, which are very low due to the absence of external finishing, and building on agricultural land has already damaged the aesthetic view of the farmlands. Aspect number six, and the last one, is perpetuating the cycle of poverty, the spread of illness, presence of black market, and lack of employment. So there are many concerns related to land. So to focus on land, we're going to talk about three main points. The first point is the land price and market. Governmental interventions has led to increase in land prices and imbalance in the land markets. Therefore, inability of the low income to live formally. And this was due to, number one, project development in fringe areas is thus suitable for urban residents. The project has increased speculations and land acquisitions by the private sector. Number two, the commercialization of land through public action helped to raise in the land market prices. Number two, land ownership. On one hand, Egypt should work to reduce the urban sprawl through an assessment of urban land markets and legal and regulatory impediments to developing land within urban boundaries. On the other hand, also Egypt should take steps to improve slums condition, including efforts to regularize land rights within informal settlement areas. Number three, the land location. Some low-income communities which are created by the governments themselves to solve the housing problems and upgrade the slums, they already have problems concerning transportation and linking them with the city's main spines. And due to their presence in the desert and away from the city heart, there are also absence of job opportunities and lack of main services like schools and hospitals. Okay, now in the previous sections, the paper has studied everything concerning informality, like the slums and their effects, reviews on the reasons, widespread, and everything concerning the land. So in this section, the paper is fetching for a solution that assessed governments to upgrade slums and create new communities. So a comparison will be held between three structure systems. Two of them are already widespread in Alexandria city, but the third one is a new one that is proposed by the author of the searching for a rapid low-cost structure. After this, a comparison is the most convenient one will be chosen for the government to control and to create a new housing typology. So the comparison is between the bearing wall structure, skeleton structure system, and the box unit structure system. And the points of comparisons are definition, load distribution, materials used, height, labors, and economic feasibility. So after studying the previous points, it will be discovered that box unit structure is the one with the highest advantages and least disadvantages. And it will be chosen in the paper to create a new prototype. So after understanding the structure systems, let's review an example on the box unit. The example is called Homes for All, Dorthevage Residence, which is located in Copenhagen, 2013. It is housing for low-income inhabitants, and it contains 66 homes, factory implementation of the interior wood and concrete, and also the apartments are with areas ranging between 60 to 115 square meters. So on the right, we will find the paper design of the housing prototype. It's a box unit with dimension 4 meter in 9.4 with height 3 meter, which leads to an area of 38 meters squared that is shown with a blue color underneath. It is convenient as a studio for a two-member family, as it consists of a bedroom, living and dining area, open kitchen, and a bathroom. And also by combining two of these box units together, we will find it red underlined. I don't know whether the mouse appeared or not. Okay, it is the one with the red underlined with dimensions 8 meter in 9.5 meter and area 76 meters squared. This apartment is very suitable for a family that has 4 to 5 members, as it consists of 3 bedrooms, living, dining, kitchen, and bathroom. And here on the right, we'll find some diagrams on the right showing different distribution of these units, whether vertically or horizontally. And of course, by adding more box units, larger apartments can be reached, like 114 meters squared, 152 meters squared. But due to this paper is facing low-income inhabitants, so small areas will be more convenient to make the best use of the land and provide homes for more families. After finishing the design, the author thought about some sustainable implementations that can be added to these box units to decrease the negative effect of buildings.
دكتور باكينام
Yes.
فاضل لك وقت قد ايه؟
2 minutes.
Okay. Yes, thank you.
Okay. The sustainable implementations were added to decrease the negative impact of the building on the surrounding environment, like a green roof, water recycling in building, natural resources for energy generation, garbage and pollution control through smart pneumatic waste convenience system. So the conclusion, after understanding everything, we will find that excuse me, yes. We will find that if governments adopted this structure and build factories to produce hundreds and millions of this box unit system, they will be able to rapidly exchange the deteriorated or unwanted buildings by these units, that once they are assembled at site, they are ready to be inhabited, and immediately as it is finished internally and externally inside the factory, and also all doors and windows are installed in them. The prefabricated box unit system is chosen, and it is very suitable for service units like hospitals, hotels, schools. This structure is based on inhabitants' needs and will allow government to pay attention to land plot importance, creating a social economical areas that satisfy the inhabitants' need and still connected to directly to cities and job opportunities. So quickly, I will only review the importance of this structure on governments, then on citizens. On governments, it will help them control the informal growth with government manufactured houses and make the best use of the small lands, rapid exchange of weak demolished informal buildings, replace the unfinished deteriorated structures with prefabricated units that finished externally and internally in factories, and the series of disasters and evictions more feasible, as when the production is increased, the cost will be decreased, and compensate governmental loss in control and not achieving the maximum benefit of the self-helping Egyptian projects. And it will be useful for citizens, as the self-built weak structures will be replaced with a factory manufacturing strong and durable units, and it will be time saving as they are delivered to the site with complete finishing. Once they are assembled, they are ready to be inhabited. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pakinam. Is there any questions? So if anyone else, you can start.
I try to be very quick.
Okay, yes, go ahead. Is there any online questions? No? Okay, go ahead, Riham.
Okay, thank you very, very much for the presentation. Very interesting. Actually, I have 2 questions as being an architect. I do understand that the prefabricated units are famous prototype that happened in the leading habitat in Canada.
Yes.
But I mean, if you're talking about the informal or squatters on land and the informal communities, when you're talking about a unit with 60 square meter, it's just too small for them, because we're talking about extended families. That is the first thing. And definitely making use of the small spaces is good, but you can imagine, I do understand that you cannot extend more floors, so you halt the growth of the informal settlements, but you should think more about the circulations, because the circulation of the habitat is just a mess in Canada. It's just hectic as a designer to do this prefabricated, and think about the vertical core of circulation and how can people do this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rehan. Would you please respond to the questions?
Yes, sure. Let's first think that these units are replacing demolished and weak structural buildings. So talking about the areas, the 36 meters squared is a studio, which is very fine for 2 members. And the other one was 76, and still we can increase this area by adding more box units. So we're thinking about a compacted unit to take the most advantage of the land and to be able to take many families. And for the height, it can reach from 10 to 15 floors. And for the vertical circulation, which 15 floors is very convenient in Alexandria city, and even less will be better. So reaching 10 floors, it will be perfect for this prototype structure. And for the vertical circulation, it has the ability to build vertical circulation alone, consisting of elevators and stairs, and to be common and reaching more than unit or more than building. So this will make it also more feasible.
Thank you. Myself, I have a question also. You know that we are having the extended families in Egypt, and
yes,
if you give one box to a couple who are newly married, later on, what are they going to do? Of course, you can merge 2 boxes, but if the adjacent box is in having another family, what are we going to do? Are we going to move them? And you know that the turning or the moving time in Egypt is very difficult.
The idea is that this structure is very, very flexible. So the presence of many designs will help them to extend vertically or horizontally. So if they are on a single land, on a piece of land, and it's a single family building, so they can just extend vertically, or they can displace their unit with another one, as it is designed for newly married couples that they can extend in the future, all old age that only used a small space to live. They don't have to have 2 or 3 bedrooms, so they won't need the extension.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? Okay, we'd like to thank Dr. Pakinam very much for her interesting presentation. I believe we still have only one presentation from Mr. Gamal, but I heard that we lost the connection with him, so we can move it to the next session. Okay, so thank you very much all for attending this session and for your active participation and interaction.